like this. Going, oh, can we feel, okay. Let's let all of the blood drain back down the other way so that it doesn't pound as much as it is.
Well, anyways, welcome to Hip and Humble. I'm Aram.
And I'm Mom.
And we talk about all things antique and collectible.
He's being mean.
I am always mean, actually. I can't even say that I'm not.
No. He's being mean because, for all of us listening, I have my hand above my head because my hand's swelling because I broke it.
Yeah.
And Aram's poking fun
She was in a, what do I call it, a ninja street fight?
Oh, please.
Yeah, so basically she went just full Jet Li and was karate chopping. There were trees being thrown at her. She was karate chopping them in half. And I believe she even karate chopped an entire person's head in half with one swoop. And that's what actually
is that what happened?
That's what broke the hand.
Oh. Yeah, I don't think so.
No? I'm remembering it differently.
Yeah, totally differently, because I was with your brother hiking Glacier.
Yeah.
And we crossed over the river there. Or it's a creek. They call it a creek, but it was a river.
Mm-hmm.
And, fell a few times. And then one of the times I fell, I hit my hand on a rock. So, yeah, broke it on a glacier.
Yeah, that's not exactly the same as a ninja fight.
No. But that part's the truth. Just like when I did my elbow, I just stepped off a curb and landed on the palm of my hand. It's just that exciting. Only this time, it was on a glacier.
Well, and before we get too much further into that, we are supported by Hip and Humble Antiques, LLC. We've got 2 locations, one just outside of Fredericksburg, Virginia in Oldies But Goodies, and another one at Rink Gallery just outside of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma in Bethany, Oklahoma. And for those of you that are not local and not all about traveling, we also have an online store on Etsy. That's Hip and Humble Antiques on Etsy. We are also supported by the WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. It is a national online radio network with tons of great creators.
Yes, we are.
Absolutely.
Yes, we are.
Well, history, especially ancient history, is fascinating. Obviously fascinating to me because I talk about it at least once a week with my mother.
Yeah. True.
It is strange to think about how we as a species have come from living in small family communities to what we have now.
What do we have now? Big house.
Yeah, that's true.
Or not big house, just a house.
Just a house. I mean, definitely bigger than the things that they lived in.
True.
But I think that what's most interesting to me is the fact that our collective intellect has been the same since that point. People have always tried to make their lives easier, and our intellect has allowed us to move further and further towards a world where everything is as simple as saying what you want. I mean, with Siri and Google and Alexa and all these things.
Yeah, I don't do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all of those things, you just say what you want, and there it is.
Yeah, I don't do that because the other things are listening.
Well, that's very true.
Yep.
With respect to intelligence, emotion, ambition, and personality, we are the same as those that came before us, even those thousands of years ago.
Well, that is very true.
Yeah.
But I would like to think that we progressed, but I really have doubts. I think we're kind of like on a line. Maybe like dipping down.
We've maybe plateaued a bit.
And then dipped. A lot.
Well, yeah.
But to me, it seems that the easier that we try to make our lives now, the more we really do lose touch with what it means to be human, to be alive.
Yeah, I could see that.
Nevertheless, it is true that the ancient people probably felt the same, and they had the same capability of thought. They all had to ask a lot of the same questions that we do today, and I do think we really haven't changed that much.
Yeah, I completely agree.
History repeats for a reason because we all think the same stuff.
Yeah, well, we talked about this previously.
We might think it in different terms, but it's pretty much just the same stuff.
No, well, we talked about this before and saying that people for all of history have asked the same questions over and over again.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. And I think people ask the same questions over and over again. And frankly, I think a lot of times they just make their life harder than what it has to be.
Right. And I think a lot of those questions in and of themselves do that specifically, make your life harder. If you're sitting there constantly asking if I'm real, Descartes, or if my thoughts are real, if I can trust my own thoughts, or if
I think the one main question that all the generations is there a God?
Yeah, that's the biggest one.
And I think that all of the people have worked out so many different ways to justify their reasoning of why they don't want to believe in God.
Right. Or the existence of a supreme intelligence or anything of that accord.
Yeah.
And I think that is absolutely
But it's always
true.
the same question.
It is.
Different forms, but same question.
Yes, absolutely.
But today we're going to be talking about the answers to one really great question.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
Yeah. How do I carry all this stuff from here to there?
That is a great question.
It is a question that plagues me on a daily basis.
Yes, it is. Well, especially now, like poor hand.
Well, yeah. I really did actually break that hand, and it's been I've been back about 3 weeks or so.
3 weeks or so. Yeah.
But it's one of those. I knew I did it when I did it, but I didn't really want to think about when I did it, and I thought maybe. See, here's how I'm justifying this in my head. Okay, I probably just bruised it really good because I will say in my own defense, in December, when I went with my youngest son to pick up his motorcycle and they're putting it on the ramp, and mind you, I am 10 to 15 feet off to the side.
Yeah.
And that bike ramp slaps out from under that bike, goes over and hits me straight in the shin. Oh. Big old bone bruise. I still have a bump where that bone bruise is.
Yep.
So I'm thinking that's probably about the same thing.
Fair enough. Well, I think that that's kind of just our family's attitude towards those kinds of things. Because you remember when I broke my arm.
Yeah,
I broke my arm. I slid on a bit of sand and braced myself with my left arm, and it hurt, but not enough to where I was like, the bone wasn't sticking out. It wasn't like broken in half. It was just that it had cracked the tibia, but it hurt quite a lot, but not any more than I had been hurt previously. So I was like, I'm fine. And then I rode my motorcycle 130 miles in 27-degree weather. No, it was 32-degree weather. Got hypothermia. Came here. We did family pictures, and then the next day I rode 130 miles back, and then I looked at my arm, and it was swollen about two sizes that more than it should have been. And I said, you know what? I think I should go to the ER.
Yeah. Well, it was mentioned actually when he was here too, but
yeah, well, but because I waited.
But this was just. You can see it's not really that swollen.
No,
but of course I've had my hand up in my head all day. But
yes, you have. I'm not denying that, but
yeah. But, and it's not like when my number 10 on the threshold pain scale thing is whenever they screws into your bones. That's a 10.
That is a 10. So, every time that's a 10.
Yeah, pretty much every time that's a 10. So,
yeah, but
this was not a 10.
But what do you use to carry little things from one place to another?
Oh, I have wonderful things to carry little things from here to there. Sadly, that is one of my things that I love. I love bags.
Yes.
I love all kinds of bags. I love little
bags,
little
boxes. One of the greatest things about coming up to the north was to see her excitement when she found a place called the Container Store.
They have that in Oklahoma City.
Yeah, I know, but you were so excited whenever you found out there was a container store.
And I don't really know why it is. I love little containers. I love all kinds of containers. I love all bags. I love little pouches. Things. I love coin purses. You name it.
I will say, anytime we find an antique that's a very small niche thing and it opens up and is a box, that is immediately my favorite thing.
Yeah. Actually, I had a puzzle box up there.
Yes, puzzle box. Yes, puzzle boxes.
Did you see the puzzle box I had?
I believe I saw yours.
It's like a lion.
Oh no, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, it's up there somewhere.
Huh.
It was really cool, but yes, I like.
Yes,
those are a lot of fun.
Those are a lot of fun.
But before, folks had bags and purses and all those kind of things,
and Tupperware and little tins.
All of that. We had baskets.
And
you know what? I love baskets too. Baskets carry things. Baskets are pretty. Baskets are works of art, such as purses. Purses are also works of art.
Mm-hmm. Well, and if you think about it in evolutionary terms, purses came from baskets.
True.
Purses would not be if baskets not were.
Well, okay. See, I think the way it goes is you got the basket.
Right.
And then they put the cover on top of the basket because some ding dong down the road was like dipping their hand in the basket, stealing stuff out of it.
Food, probably.
So then you gotta, you never know. Whatever it was. I mean, Moses was in a basket. But,
that's true.
So then you got the cover on the basket. Mm-hmm. Then probably they figured out how to do that. So then now you gotta zip it up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I think, a lot of it can just be, traced back to crime. Oh, that was just worth it right there. Oh, you should see his face. He's turning totally red.
Oh, the secret ingredient is crime. Oh man, I could write you a whole paper on how many things in our history have been started because of criminals.
Well, you might need to do that.
I might need to. We might have to do it. We might have to branch out and do a special episode featuring crime. Oh, that would be so good.
Actually, that would be kind of fun.
I think we should.
That might be.
If you guys like that idea, comment on this YouTube video, or if you're on an Instagram, comment on our Instagram and tell us that you want us to do an episode on crime.
Oh, you know what? We could do like that. Get the antique and trace it back to the was it like Crime Stoppers, antique crime finders?
Criminal antique investigation.
There you go.
I like that. So back to baskets though. Speaking of Moses in the basket, when did baskets start? Baskets are actually they were the first human craft.
Well, and I don't really even look at it. I think we look at it as a craft. Then it was, I got to get this to here. I got to store this, or I have a ton of material or a ton of small things that that are very light, but I can't carry them all at once. I mean, baskets were made out of necessity.
Absolutely. Well, so they actually predate pottery and stone carving.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, they began around what we think. Realistically, baskets have been around since human history. Like humans have existed.
Did Adam and Eve make baskets?
I'm sure they did. To be honest, I'm sure they did.
They probably did.
I absolutely would not doubt it. Well, you know what?
After they sinned and they made the clothes and stuff, I bet they already knew how to weave.
They knew how to sew things together at that point. Or weave, yeah. Well, and we'll talk about that. There's lots of different kinds of ways to make baskets. Yes. And weaving is one of them. But as far as the evidence, physical evidence that we have, I guess archaeological evidence is what I should say, of what we have, the best guess that they have is anywhere between 6,000 and 8,000 BC. So the earliest evidence that they have of basketry is actually from pottery. So it's on pottery shards that are dated before 8,000 BC, and they were found in Gamblos Cave in Kenya. And these pottery shards have the impression of basket work. So it's evident that there was a basket that was leaning up against the clay of this pot whenever
sitting on it or
something of that accord.
Yeah.
And if you guys want to learn a ton about baskets, I found that there is an awesome book you can check out. It is called The Complete Book of Basket and Basketry by Dorothy Wright. And you know what? I want to thank Dorothy personally for writing that book, because that's fantastic. And the name Dorothy to me seems like the kind of person that would write a book on baskets.
Yeah, maybe so. Dorothy always kind of scares me a little bit. So,
well, that's because you're scared of the Wizard of Oz.
I am.
Yes,
I'm from Oklahoma.
That's fair.
Having a tornado come and take you from your house is a very, very real fear.
That is a very real fear. Yes.
So I don't want to watch horror movies, and that would be it.
Yeah. Well, we kind of alluded to it before, but of course, baskets were started because of necessity. But they eventually became an art, and then a fine art, and a fine craft, and they were used for literally everything. The Native Americans used them in every single portion of the food sorting, cooking, or storage process. They would cure the meat in baskets. They would dry the meat in baskets. They would salt the meat in baskets. They would store the cooked meat in baskets. They were use and make different sizes and types of baskets for different portions or different places within the food processing.
It's kind of interesting just thinking about the Indians. Yes, they did all of that. They made the baskets out of necessity to fill a need for something that they had. Mm-hmm. But as we have come farther along in technology and all that kind of stuff, the basket weavers are still there. Of course, not as many at all. No. But it kind of somehow, in some way, morphs from a necessity into the art form.
Absolutely. Well,
because
it's interesting.
They really weren't an art. It was just, we need a basket to carry fish.
Yeah. But I will say, so what was interesting about that specifically is during the 1800s, is right around that time whenever that kind of shift happened. So during the 1800s, the Native American baskets became very popular outside of the Native American community. Obviously, before then, they were still, very utilized, and they were also used as decorations, and they were ceremonial.
Sure.
And they were passed down between families or made over and over again to represent different families or generations, tribes, so on and so forth within the Native American communities. But around the 1800s, whenever those baskets turned kind of from what they were to what they are now.
Sure.
And they became a source of income for the tribes and
source of pride, source of creativity, and a little way to preserve history.
Absolutely.
Of course, I do have, and you guys put your keys in it 9 million times. The basket up there was one I bought on Iowa Tribe.
Right.
And
it is a fantastic key holder. I'll tell you what.
They put the keys in all the time.
It is fantastic.
But I do have several.
It's really cool because it's like the back side of it is flat, and then it's a rounded basket in the front, but it's smaller. I mean, it's probably 4 inches by 4 inches by 3 inches, something like that.
If we were smart people, we would have gathered baskets.
Well, I'm pretty sure most people know what a basket looks like.
Well, I know, but that's a unique one.
Yeah, that is true. That is a unique one. We do have some pretty cool baskets around here.
Yeah. I have a huge Italian basket on top of the china cabinet in there that was for bread. So if you go in the kitchen, you look up there. Yeah. It doesn't look as big as it is till you take it down. You're like, oh, that's a big basket.
That's a very large basket. Well, and speaking of baskets from different places, who first invented baskets, or at least who do we have that has recorded baskets in history?
Oh gosh, I'm going to go with Asians or Egyptians. Actually, probably Egyptians because, Moses.
Yeah, I was going to say you kind of already hinted yourself there earlier, but both of those are wrong. Mesopotamia.
I think that is Mesopotamia is like a combo between Egyptians and Asian.
I mean, it's in the middle as far as geography is associated, but you're still wrong. Still wrong.
Okay, we'll let him have that one.
Mesopotamians referred to baskets as children of the gods and the basis of our earth. According to ancient Mesopotamians, people came onto Earth transported by baskets. So, baskets brought in humanity, according to Mesopotamians.
Well, I wish they would have. It been a lot easier on me.
Fair enough. And then, of course, came the Egyptians. Egyptians bakers used baskets to hold their baked loaves of bread and also baby Moses. Yep. Native Americans also used baskets from the beginning of their existence, and they were used, of course, for, like we said before, utilitarian and ceremonial purposes. They were well suited to a seasonal subsistence lifestyle. So basically, they made baskets when they needed them, and they used them for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were light and they're durable.
Yes, very, very durable.
And the materials were easy to get. So
yes, well, and that's another interesting thing about baskets. Obviously, baskets are still made today. A lot of the materials that were used in ancient times are still used today. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting because there's, like we said, there's different different ways to make baskets. And for the Native Americans, they kind of developed, and really everywhere else, they developed kind of these 4 basic techniques for weaving baskets. There's plaiting, wicker weaving, twining, and coiling. And coiling is the most basic and what is considered the most primitive. Mm-hmm. So coiling is kind of, basically what you do is you kind of wind up a fiber like a snake, and then you stitch that fiber every 1/4 inch or so to the next fiber.
Yeah.
And usually
make a little circle.
Yeah, you just make little circles and attach them together.
Yep.
And usually the ancient or the older baskets, they would mostly use grass, and then to bind or stitch the softer grass together, they would either use then harder grass or they would use tree fibers.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And traditionally, that type of basket making technique was used by Native Americans.
Or they would actually use gut.
Right. Yes, they would use the deer gut or whatever animal gut that they could.
Whatever they had.
They would dry it and they would split it apart and make the fibers and use that to sew things with.
Yeah.
Yeah, they also use
like thread.
Almost like thread. They also use that on their arrows to put the arrowheads onto the arrows, and then they also used that as the bowstrings. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is really interesting.
Well, you used a lot. I mean, you used every part of the animals.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing that's really cool about those societies and ancient people.
I think it's not even that ancient. I think kind of growing up kind of the way that I did, that we were taught from a very young age, you do not waste anything.
Right.
Ever. So, I know I've sat for hours on end going, okay, how can I best use this resource that I have to its fullest extent without wasting one drop or one little bit of anything.
All right. Absolutely. And I will say that is even to a fault.
Well, and it is. Yeah. I do. I think it can be definitely. So, but that's still, that I remember even in school and stuff when I was a kid, that was Indians use every single part of that animal.
Right.
How did, what part did they use for, we had to go through all the parts and figure out what you would do with each of the parts and, and all that. And it's, it's kind of like, okay, when you're kind of taught to think that way, that's how you think.
Well, and also, I do think some of it, kind of not to jump too far into this hole, but I do think some of it is generational to a degree, because I think that your generation, because I look at Dad, and Dad does not throw away clothes ever.
Oh, I know.
Ever.
Well, he doesn't, and he doesn't throw away a lot of other stuff.
Well, but that's what I mean. He has cords to things that he does not own anymore.
A lot of those.
I've come down here and I've tried to help clean the basement out, and we did a really good job.
I think we did a good job.
We did a really good job.
And that bucket of cord, that box, actually, it's not even a bucket. It's a box.
It's literally a 2-foot by 3-foot box.
That's one of them.
Yeah, one box. There are at least 3 that I know of. There are at least 3 of these boxes I know of, full of cords. And I picked it up and I was trying to shoo it out the door without anyone noticing. And
the only thing I don't want shoot out the door are the computers, because I want the pictures off of them. After I get the pictures off of them, I don't care what you do with them. You give me a CD with those pictures, I'm a happy camper, move on.
I understand.
That's it. You take my pictures, then we have problems.
Yeah, but when I say all that,
I don't care.
I say all that to say that I think that not being wasteful to an extreme degree has manifested in both of you in very different ways.
Oh, definitely.
And I think that from my perspective, it seems like at least it makes sense to me that comes from the influence of like Uncle Lonnie and those people in your life that went through the Great Depression.
Well, yeah.
That's what makes sense to me.
Both were my grandmothers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and my mother, but my mother wasn't born till 42.
Yeah, no, that's
so she wasn't. But
that's at least 2 decades removed.
When you were raised though by people that went through that, then that's just kind of the way it is. I know I've told you before, but we used to go to my Aunt Winnie and Uncle Lloyd's house in Tulsa, and I don't know. I never thought about it too much, but the hoard food.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't realize at one point I needed to go to the restroom, and they said, well, go in there and go to the bathroom. I thought, well, I didn't even know that was a bathroom. And went in, and there was a toilet, a sink, and there was food all the way up in the shower canned food. Oof. She had canned, canned peas, green beans, peaches. You name it, it was in there.
Yeah.
And but that was okay.
Wow.
That wasn't really all that, oh my gosh, what is this? That was just, okay. So, kind of whenever that's what you look at. And then even like my grandmother, I remember even after, when we cleaned out the attic one time, she had like a whole big old boxes of the little metal parts that go on the top of your cans, you'd unscrew them from the thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she had whole boxes of those.
Wow.
You know why she has boxes of those?
Because he uses them.
Well, because if you have a mouse, you nail that on top of the hole.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, she did. She used them for all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I believe that ingenuity is important. And I think that. But
I mean, that was part of it is we've got this can. How can we best use it?
But that's what I'm saying. I think that ingenuity and that being able to use things in multiple ways for things that are in ways that they're not technically designed to be used, I think is a great tenet to have and a great way to not be wasteful. And we are going to talk more about that when we come back.
Okie dokie.
From our break.
Hi, my name is Kaylin, and I'm the host of a new podcast called Tea Time Thoughts. Do you ever wish you could learn more about history, books, music, art, and culture, but you just don't know where to start? I totally feel your pain. Learning about all these things can be so overwhelming. Well, I want to change all of that for you. In my podcast, Tea Time Thoughts, I'll show you just how fun it all can be. In the time it takes to have a cup of tea, I'm going to teach you everything from the French Revolution to the Black Plague, Mozart to Broadway musicals, Da Vinci to Robert Frost, ancient Egypt to Queen Elizabeth II, and more. You can stream Tea Time Thoughts wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. So what are you waiting for? Put the kettle on and listen to Tea Time Thoughts today.
Welcome back to Hip and Humble. I am still Aram.
And I'm Mom.
And we talk about all things antique and collectibles. And today we are talking about baskets. We are supported by Hip and Humble Antiques, LLC. We have an Instagram page that I am on every day, and I will respond to anything that you put on there.
And you never know. I might get a wild hair, so... What was that?
Sorry, I was just...
You know what? You are not nice today. I may be...
Oh, my goodness.
Yep. I'm just not even going to talk to you anymore.
Well...
I might get a wild hair and respond. You don't know.
You might. You very much might. I mean,
Probably not tomorrow since I got to go to the orthopedist to see what they're going to do about my hand. But
you'd have to, get the logon information, actually log on to Instagram, possibly install the application.
It on there. You have it on my phone.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, but
look at the little snotty boy.
You don't have the Hip and Humble account.
Little snot boy. Yeah, I do. Yes, I do, little snot bubble.
Anyways, please follow us on there, and that is hipn.humble. That's hipn.humble. Follow us on there so you can be a part of all of this fun. And yes, you are following it. You are not an administrator of the account.
Yes, I didn't say I was. But if somebody says something on there, then I can say something back.
That is very true. That is very true. You can respond with your Instagram.
I'll tell you what, you're just not being very nice to me.
Well, I'm never nice. I'm not a nice boy.
Aaron?
Also, if you like what we're doing a lot
of troubles,
and you want to support us,
wait till we get off all this, and you're gonna get in trouble.
Oh, I'm gonna get reamed. So if you really like what we're doing and you want to see me get reamed, maybe I will film it in secret and put it on our Patreon page. So please subscribe to our Patreon page. If you want to, leave us a tip. Anything you want and anything you give to us, we will put right back into the show for you. And that is patreon.com/hipandhumble. Patreon.com/hipandhumble. Also, if you're on our YouTube, please subscribe, comment, say hello. I will say hello back. We are very excited to finally be seen by all of you. And for those of you that are still listening, we are so super grateful for you listening to us. Also, we are supported by the WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. It is a national online radio network with tons of great content and creators, and you should check them out. So before we went away...
Just after looking at the Hip and Humble on the thingy...
Yes?
I sent you pictures. I don't see them.
Oh, well, I put them on there.
Let's see. No.
Yeah, I did.
No.
Mm-mm. I haven't put all of them on there.
There you
go. I'm waiting.
On what? Christmas?
No, I need to spread it out. So we're putting multiple things on there on different days so that we stay, relevant.
Uh-huh.
Her doubt in me is palpable.
Do you want me just to spell it out for you, or you got the palpable? Okay, well, this was April 13th. What is today? It is not April 13th. It is past that. You know what? It's kind of fun, though, because I'm like looking back at these pictures. I'm like, we've sold that. We've sold that. We've sold that.
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So
it's pretty cool. We are excited for all of you guys. Every one of you guys that comes in our store, we're really excited, and we're happy that you find something you like and take it home with you. That's the greatest thing about having an antique shop is we find all these cool things, and then we get to give them to people to enjoy.
I was at the shop today, and I did go in and I put some new stuff out and refresh and clean up and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And folks, if you guys leave your coffee cup coffee, just put your crap in the trash. If it's trash, put it in the trash. Because I'm like, seriously, this is what you do? But anyway. Anyway, there was a really sweet lady there, and she was, her son, I guess it was her stepson, so it was kind of a newly blended kind of deal.
Interesting.
And her, stepson loved baseball. And I have those little piggy banks.
Yeah.
With the little baseball guys.
Cute.
It's a piggy with a little baseball on him and stuff. So it was really fun. She ended up buying that and was really excited about, having kind of a unique gift to give her new stepson.
That's really sweet.
So it really was. It was really sweet. I mean, and that was kind of fun. But I enjoyed talking to her. And of course, they're down here on vacation, and it is real. I gotta say, it's really nice seeing all the vacationers, all the tourists kind of coming back in.
Yeah, that's super nice.
I've seen the tour buses are like firing back up. And,
yep. It's really nice to see people. I've noticed, so they lifted the restrictions here in Virginia, and I've noticed every time I go out now, when I see people's faces, everyone that has their face out in the open, everyone's smiling. Everyone that I've seen is smiling, because I feel like since everyone's been covered up for so long, as soon as you get to show your face, everyone just feels the need to. So excited.
I know. Well, it's true. It's very true.
It is so nice.
Yes. And it is really nice just to breathe.
Oh, yeah.
That's the other thing.
That is true. And one thing that is interesting about these times, and
who are we supported by?
Well, I already said all that.
I didn't think you did the second time.
I did.
Okay.
You guys, who are we supported by? Because I just said it. No, but
not listening.
I know you're not listening, because we were talking about baskets, and we were talking about the different ways to make baskets.
Yes,
First, we started with coiling, and so we stopped talking about the way, or I guess the materials that Native Americans use. But in West Africa, they used and still use sweetgrass.
Yeah.
To coil their baskets.
Well, they do. A lot of Native Americans do too.
Yeah. Well,
any kind of grass.
It depends. It just depended on the region and what material was available.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the sweetgrass baskets are a little bit softer. They're a lot more malleable. So they stretch a bit as well, which is nice, and they're really popular nowadays in like Florida and beach towns and things like that.
Yeah.
And another thing that people used to make baskets out of were pine needles. And I think it's interesting to think about, because I'm sure I've held a pine needle basket at some point in my life, because they're still made commonly.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, pine needles, those are pretty short.
Yes, they can be, but pine needles can be really long.
Yeah. I don't know if I've seen one, like actually seen one.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is baskets all look like baskets.
Well, that's not true. I mean, you do have, some you can tell are wooden baskets.
True.
And, like the sweetgrass baskets are totally different texture.
Yes.
The material's a different texture. So pine needle would be a completely different texture from that.
Yeah.
And of course, they're not that long. So, you gotta have some way to get them together. And, and they're round and they're a little bit harder and, stuff like that. So, you can always tell.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. But I think it's interesting to think about. So obviously basket making and basket weaving has excelled, because, we've done it for the entirety of our existence. And so even with these pine needle or baskets that are made out of pine needles, they would at this point be kind of they have different lacquers and glues and stuff that could meld them together to the point where you're not going to see like the end of one and the beginning of another.
Right.
And they would be easy to smooth them out as well. Yeah.
Sure.
So I think it's interesting.
With the advancements and stuff, sure, you can always hide stuff.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. I think it's interesting to me.
There's always, and the different types of baskets or different materials that make up the different baskets. You know, people collect certain ones. There's some people that only collect oak ones.
Right.
You know, oak that have been made from split board oak.
Right.
And some from pine and some from just like the sweetgrass or something. I think, you know, whatever.
And we've talked about,
I think they're awesome.
We've talked about collectors before, and I think what distinguishes a really interesting collection distinguishes collections as being really interesting is their specificity.
Yeah.
You know, every collector that I've met that is very specific in what they collect and has a large portion of them has been an interesting person, and their collection specifically has been interesting. There was an episode previous where we had talked about, what was it? So we talked about Andy Warhol's collection, and I believe it was his collection of
Campbell's soup.
Not Campbell's soup.
Peanuts.
No.
Weird fruit.
No, it was something we talked about before.
I'm sure.
But anyways,
I've slept a lot since then.
His collection, obviously, we talked about it before, and it was very specific, but it spawned the whole industry that we talked about that I'm totally forgetting right now. Yeah.
Well, but people, they're very specific in their collections. And I've had people that have come in looking for, lanterns, but they want very, very specific lanterns, whether it's whether it's a specific railroad.
Yep.
Or it was a specific color or, you know, very, very, very specific things.
Yes.
And I think that's great. And it's what's kind of neat is if you're lucky enough to be invited to see some of these people's collections, you know, they'll have an entire room just full of exactly what they want. And that's
and it's interesting
really neat to see.
Yeah, it's very neat to see. And it's interesting and I think the reason they collect with such specificity is because even that small niche of items has such a diversity.
Sure.
Especially considering the different times that they were made in, or the company and the changes that company went through, so on and so forth. It's just really cool to see the progression of those kinds of things. But back to the different ways to make, speaking of the progression of things, back to the different ways to make baskets. There is also splint weaving. That one was traditionally used in Asia. It's still used today. And this method they weave flat materials together. So instead of the fibers or putting fibers of things together, grass together, pine needles together, they put cane or reed together, and they flatten them out and then weave the flat pieces. So both the products that they use, they come from the reeds and the cane. They come from one specific vine called the Calmus ratang, and it's interesting because harvesting this vine is an invasive species. So
from Asia?
From Asia.
A lot of invasive species from Asia have made their way over here.
Yes. Well,
cherry blossoms, wisteria, kudzu.
But because it's such an invasive species...
Not that I've had to cut a lot of it down and I'm a little bitter, but you know, whatever.
She's not bitter at all, folks. No.
You can't kill kudzu.
No. But what's interesting is, so obviously every time they take this vine out of the jungle, it does not harm the ecosystem at all. So It doesn't hurt the rainforest whenever they go and harvest it, which is pretty cool. Yep. And these are...
I would give them back their kudzu.
I bet you would. I bet you would. But those baskets are common for picnic baskets. Picnicking. So, and picnicking is pretty cool.
Is it?
Yeah, it actually has an incredible history. I was looking into what kind of customs have come from different cultures as far as, you know, what the things that are associated with baskets. Picnics was the first to come to mind, and picnic is revolutionary.
Is it?
Let me tell you
more.
Well, picnic was originally, what culture do you think picnics came from?
Asia.
Nope.
Oh, we get another culture? Norwegian.
Well, good guess, but no. Good guess, but no.
I don't know. Those are my two.
Picnics came from France.
Really?
Yes, they did.
I didn't think. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And,
how did that happen?
So, it was originally a 17th century French word called pique-nique. Its meaning was similar to today's meaning. It meant a social gathering where each attendee would bring a share of the food. Picnics were actually the first potlucks.
Potluck dinner. Mm-hmm. Best food you'll ever eat at church.
A French piquer may have referred to a leisurely style of eating or a pique at your food, or it could have simply meant pick. So just to pick things. What is certain, however, although the term has some disparities, what's certain is that originally it did not refer to anything that we would now recognize as a picnic. It first appeared in Les Charmants Effets des Berges, où l'amant durable de la commun, it's compagnon de frères Bachique.
He's making all this up.
Piqué Nique in 1649. And I'm not making it up. I'm just butchering the pronunciation.
There you go.
Butchering the pronunciation. And I am so sorry. And I'm sure French people just don't like me in general.
You know what, folks?
Now, because of that.
There's only so many things you can learn, and sometimes you just have to give up your dream of learning a beautiful creation so that you can just keep on going with what you got.
Well, and
the French language is a beautiful creation.
It is absolutely gorgeous. And we actually
like listening to it. I have no idea what you're saying.
We have had listeners from France, and for all of you that have listened from France, love you guys. So sorry.
Very sorry.
So sorry. And I will be better. I'll just be better.
He's gonna try.
I will try.
I'm just gonna apologize every time because I don't know as I can get better.
But this.
But if one of you guys want to come over and stay, and you could stay here and teach me, then I might get better.
Yeah,
and then I can visit you. It'd be fun.
And
it is how you make friends.
It is how you make friends. And I didn't realize that we didn't get to the rest of the picnic history, but we are out of time.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was really ready to get going on that.
On the picnic history?
I was really ready to get going on that.
I actually did research a long time ago on preserving different foods and kind of how they ate different foods and whatnot for something completely not related to this. And picnicking, that was kind of one of the things that they would take on there were meat sandwiches.
Yeah.
But it would be like minced, like a mincemeat, not cooked.
Right.
Not just like raw hamburger meat.
Yes.
And they didn't really use mayonnaise, they used butter. So you'd butter the bread and put the raw meat on it, and then they would eat it like that.
Yeah, I read somewhere that raw meat was pretty common up until the beginning of the 1900s.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah. But just to give you guys a little taste, because I feel like we're going to have to talk about picnics next week. We're going to have to, because this is just really, really cool. I'm really glad we stumbled on it. But to give you a little taste, that play that I butchered the pronunciation of.
That was a play?
Yes, it was a burlesque satire on the perceived hypocrisy of the Fronde. And an insurrection against French absolutism.
Woo-hoo-hoo.
This is pre-French Revolution for all of you history buffs. This is the bubbling, if you will. Oh my goodness! But folks, you're not going to be able to drink coffee anymore, kiddo. I don't drink coffee anymore.
That's true. We're going to figure something else out for you.
Well, before I get too scolded about my energy levels at this time of night, stay hip
and humble.
All right, bye.
Bye.